Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and welcome to Lisa Explains It All, the 2025 Halloween special. Happy Halloween everybody, and what is my costume you may ask? This guy right here. So this is going to just be a chill episode, if you will. I'm going to be reacting to some spooky TikToks, and I did just upload some scary episodes of the podcast for the month of October, if you would like to check those out. So, without further ado, I do have some blueberry cereal with me today that I am going to be stress eating. Let's see. There it is. Blueberry cereal. ASMR. Okay. So I've got that to munch on, and then I also have this, not sponsored, some I assume this is Halloween themed because it's called The Nightmare. Thirst's Worst Nightmare, and it is strawberry cream flavored. Scary Halloween themed Prime, I think. Scary Man visuals. Okay, again, not sponsored. And then I also have a boo bucket with some little candies in it. Also, to stress eat while watching the scary TikToks. And then, lastly, midway through the episode, I'm going to do a taste test of Ghost Toast Kit Kat bars. Midway through taste testing. And I hear tell that this is like the best Halloween Kit Kat. The best Halloween Kit Kat flavor. So, let's find out. Okay. And now, without further ado, I'm going to begin reacting to some spooky TikToks here. So, let's go. Okay, spooky TikTok time. Alright. So, what do I... Rave Cat. Okay. What do I want to look up first? How about... let's start with a good one. Let's go with the catacombs. So... Haunted... Alright. Okay. Let's see. Dinner in Haunted Catacombs. Okay. Lost in Catacombs. Okay. Ooh, okay. Alright, Lost in the Catacombs. It's illegal to go here.
The nightmare. Deeper and deeper into the catacombs. And all of a sudden,
Endless tunnels built from bones, skulls stacked like bricks, femurs arranged like wallpaper. You can hear the man's breathing echo off the stone. And then he starts running. No one knows what he saw or what happened to him. Under the romantic streets of Paris is another city built from the dead. There's over 6 million human remains, carefully arranged in patterns that stretch for miles underground. In the 1700s, Paris was drowning in debt. Cemeteries overflowed so badly that walls collapsed, spilling corpses into the streets. The smell was unbearable. So the city began digging tunnels deep beneath the surface, where they quietly moved the dead at night. Priests whispered prayers over wagons full of bones as they disappeared into the dark. And for centuries, those tunnels have remained mostly untouched. Tourists can visit one tiny section. The rest is sealed off and illegal to enter. But explorers called cataphiles still sneak in through secret holes and drains, searching for forgotten rooms, active rituals, history, people. And sometimes they find things that shouldn't be there. Police have found shoes, cameras, maps, and remains. Even trained officers get lost inside. The walls twist back on themselves, and the deeper you go, the colder it gets. One woman froze to death after being separated from her group and lost. They say, if you listen long enough, you can hear whispers, not voices of the living, but the millions who were buried there. Some people have reported and recorded music playing, singing voices, lit candles, and strange groups of people. These were from the living. If you get caught recording their rituals, you could be attacked, or worse. If someone asked you to explore these forbidden tunnels, would you take the risk?
Oh, I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Nope. Nope. Alright, next topic. About I live in a haunted house. How about that? Let's see. I live in a haunted house. Okay. Alright. Let's see. What do I got?
The summer I was going into the 4th grade. So I think I was about 9 or 10 when we moved in, and I actually had to move elementary schools when I moved into that house. Right off of the bat, I thought that the house was beautiful. It was a gorgeous 2-story brown brick home, and I was just so excited to move into that home. But I will say that the house just seemed very out of place. It was this very big, beautiful, gorgeous house in a neighborhood that didn't exactly match, I would say. I also want to say that I don't know why the neighborhood kids called it the witch house. I think that the home sat unoccupied for a little while. I don't know if things were happening in the house before we moved in. I don't know if something happened for the previous owners to leave it. I'm not sure. So the first main thing that happened was that I would hear footsteps on the stairs at night. My bedroom was pretty much right at the top of the stairs. I would hear different sort of footsteps on the stairs at night. Sometimes they would be really heavy and you could actually hear like the thud and the creak of the stairs, and they would come up and then they'd go back down. Sometimes they would be really quick and you would kind of hear it kind of running up and then running back down. They would happen almost every night, several times a night, and to the point that you just kind of get used to it and just kind of write it off as the house being creaky. The first thing that really kind of shocked me had to do with the footsteps on the stairs. The way that our living room was set up was that you would come up at the top of the stairs. If you were to turn right, that's where the upstairs living room was. There was a TV at the end of the living room. And this was like a really big TV at the time. So the TV pretty much took up the entire back wall of the living room. So the TV was facing the stairs, and then in the middle was the couch, and the stairs were behind the couch. I was watching TV one day and I heard the footsteps on the stairs. Again, by this point, I was kind of already desensitized to them. I would hear them so often that it was just another thing. This particular time, as I'm hearing the footsteps, I'm watching the TV, and either the TV went to commercial or the show was coming back on or the show ended. I'm not sure what happened, but the screen on the TV went black. The footsteps stopped. But as I'm watching the TV, I can see the silhouette of a man reflected standing behind me on the TV. So my first thought is, oh, it's my dad. So I turn around and there's no one there. And so I turned back around in that split second before the screen went to whatever it was going to show next. I saw the man again. And then it went to whatever it was. I remember feeling so scared and not wanting to turn around again because I very clearly saw the man's silhouette standing behind me, behind the couch that I was sitting on at the top of the stairs. Up until this point, I had never experienced anything like that before. That was the first thing that happened to me in that house, and it only would get progressively worse. I was haunted from around the ages 10 to 17 when I...
Okay. What? Okay. Hi, I'm Haley, and I live in a haunted house.
In the moonlight, my honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you belong to me. Way down along the street, how very, very sweet it will seem once more just to dream in the silvery moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you in the moonlight.
Okay. Boy. Alright, pinned. Uh-oh. Alright. 5 million views. Alright. Creepy things in my haunted.
In the moonlight, my honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you belong to me. Way down along the street, how very, very sweet it will seem once more just to dream in the silvery moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you belong to me, just a little old me in the moonlight.
Don't like that. Don't like that at all. Okay. Also, 5 million views? Or more in depth here.
In the moonlight, my honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you belong to me. Way down along the street, how very, very sweet it will seem once more just to dream in the silvery moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone. But tonight you belong to me, just a little old me in the
God.
moonlight.
Okay, A plus. A plus for the creepiness. Okay. Alright. I lived in a haunted house. Okay.
This is how I found out I was living inside of a literal haunted house. So thankfully it's not the house that I'm living in right now, but it was my old house, and let me just tell y'all, it was small, creepy, and I always got a bad vibe from it. And what I'm about to share are my top 3 experiences and how I knew that we had to get the hell out of there. So this night is what I feel like started it all and opened a portal for all the demons and monsters and ghosts to come out and haunt us. Y'all know when y'all have a dream inside of a dream and you wake up and you're like, wait, I thought that was real life? That's what I had. So I had a dream inside of my dream that I woke up out of my sleep and I was in my room on my top bunk bed staring at the door. And y'all, being on a bunk bed is crucial to the story, so keep that in mind. So in this dream, I wake up out of my sleep, I shoot up and I'm looking at my door and there's a girl standing right there. She's standing at the door, pale as ever. She has long black hair and she's wearing this white dress. At this point, I cannot see her face. The only thing that I know is that she's a little girl. And I also knew that we didn't have any guests over, so I was like, who the hell is she? So y'all know in horror movies when there's like a ghost or a monster and their mouth opens up wide like they're about to consume something? That's what happened with this girl. So that girl is standing at my doorway and her mouth starts to open and she's coming towards me, and instantly I wake up out of that dream and now I'm like fully awake. So I shoot up out of my dream and I look up at the doorway, but nothing is there. When I tell y'all I was freaking out, and here is where the bunk bed is crucial to the story. So I'm at the top of my bunk bed, there's nobody sleeping at the bottom. So keep in mind, I just had this scary dream that I saw a girl there. Tell me why I'm on the top of my bunk bed and I start to feel it shake. My natural instinct was to put the cover over my head, lay back down, because ain't no way in hell was I about to pop my head over the railing to see who was down there. No. I remember I sat there in silence, frozen, waiting for this bed to stop shaking, and I was freaking out the whole entire time, and when I told my parents about this, they did not believe me. But here's why I said that this probably opened up a portal for ghosts and other things to enter inside my house. So after that moment, this is when stuff started to get really, really crazy. So one night I decided to tuck myself into bed while everyone was still awake or getting ready to go to sleep. So at this point, doors closed, lights are off. So now tell me why I'm in my bed and I feel something tug at my collar. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe, I'm just like moving around in my sleep. Maybe that's what caused it. I move slightly. That was not the case at all. After I adjusted myself and made sure that I was not moving at all, tell me why about 5 minutes later, I feel another tug, but this time it's like tugging at the back of my collar, and I'm like choking at this point. I'm like, who is pulling on my collar? So I take off my shirt, I open the door and I leave it open, and I tell my parents, can you please have your door open just in case? So after that incident happened, I told my parents, I was like, listen, I need a nightlight for my room. I do not care. Get me one, please. And this last incident is when I knew that I was living inside of a haunted house. So this one day I decided to rearrange my room, and my bed at this point is facing the window. So basically the bed is like that and the window is right there. So this night in particular, I decided to sleep facing the wall. So now I can't see what's going on behind me. And of course, this night was the night that I got sleep paralysis for the first time. So all I remember is that I woke up from my sleep and I could not move at all. When I tell y'all my heart was touching my feet, like I was freaking the fuck out. So because I can't move, I can't see what's behind me. Keep that in mind. So about 5 minutes into me freaking out, I hear a ball start bouncing. I can hear it and the ball is far away and it starts to get closer to the point where it starts bouncing underneath my bed. So y'all, keep in mind, I still cannot move. I can't turn around and see what's happening. So I'm hearing this ball bounce underneath my bed, and then all of a sudden it suddenly stops. So when you get chills and you can just feel like the vibe is off? I got that instantly, and I started feeling this vibration, this heavy vibration that something was right next to me. So at this point, while I'm feeling this vibration next to me, my whole body just completely shuts down. I'm sweating, I start crying, and then all of a sudden I'm able to move. I don't think I've ever shot up from my bed so fast in my life. When I had the ability to move, I moved. So I got up, I started screaming. My parents probably thought that there was an intruder in the house. I started screaming, I ran to my door, opened it, ran into my brother's room and said, I'm sleeping here tonight. Then my parents woke up, they started coming into the room, they were like, what's going on? I told them exactly what happened, and I told them about my previous experiences about what happened in this house. And after that day, we got the house blessed, and we never heard anything ever again. But y'all, that's how I found out that my house was haunted, and I have so many more stories, but that was just the top 3. This is how I found out I was living inside of a literal haunted house. So
Wow. Ugh. Terrifying. Everything is terrifying. Okay. I lived in a haunted house.
So one of my followers named Madison just told me her haunted house experience, and y'all, if I was living in that house, I would have a heart attack. Before I begin, if you have a horror story you want me to read, go ahead and follow my Instagram that's linked in my bio and DM me your story. So Madison told me she swears she lives in a haunted house, and this all started as soon as her family moved in 3 years ago. She told me her parents think it's all just her imagination, stress, bad dreams, creaky old house stuff, and they still think this to this day. But Madison told me what she experienced are far beyond that. She told me it began quietly, little things. The kind of things you just brush off, but then it escalated. Madison told me she's now at the point where she installed cameras in her own bedroom because she's desperate to catch it on camera. Because she's desperate for proof so her parents move out of there. She told me there were 3 encounters that made her realize that something was wrong. The first encounter being the closet door. So Madison told me her bedroom closet door never stayed closed. Every night before she went to bed, she would shut it all the way, even wedging a shoe against the base so it doesn't slide open. Every morning, Madison told me that she would wake up to find it wide open. At first, she thought it was just her own doing. She told me she maybe thought she wasn't closing it properly, maybe her younger brother was sneaking in as a prank, until one night, she decided to catch the culprit, or at least attempt to catch the culprit. Madison told me she closed it slowly, made sure that the latch clicked, pushed her dresser properly in front of it, and went to bed. Around 3 a.m., Madison told me she woke up, not to a sound, but to a feeling, like someone standing over her. She sat up, groggy, and looked toward the closet. She told me the dresser had been slid back just enough for the door to crack open. And there, she said it was. She swears she saw a pale hand on the dresser as if it was pushing it, but once caught, slid its way back into the closet. Madison told me she immediately told her parents the next morning, but they shrugged it off. Her mom said that she probably dreamed it. Now on to encounter 2, the footsteps on the stairs. Madison told me a few weeks later she started to hear footsteps on the stairs, and this was all happening at night when no one was awake. She told me she would hear slow, dragging footsteps going up the staircase just outside her bedroom. They never reached the top fully, but would stop somewhat near her door. One night, she told me she stayed up on her phone scrolling with her earbuds in, and at around 2:15 a.m., she started to feel vibrations of the steps through the floorboards. She yanked out her earbuds and listened. Step, 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 and then it stopped. She told me she whispered, "Mom," but no one answered. So she got up and opened her door, but the staircase below was empty. Every light was off, her parents' bedroom door was closed, and even her brother's. But this is where it got creepy. Madison told me as she stood there staring down the dark stairwell, she heard something breathe right behind her ear. She told me the breathing, the breath of it was not warm, it was cold, almost freezing, and when she spun around, it was empty. No one was in the hallway but herself. Madison told me the next morning she told her parents again, and her dad said, "Old houses creak, you'll get over it." The last encounter was the woman at the edge of her bed. She told me this last encounter made her stop sleeping without a light. She told me it was a stormy night, thunder rattling through the windows. She had just drifted off when something woke her. This time, it wasn't the closet or the stairs, it was the sense that someone was in her room. She told me she opened her eyes and what she saw shocked her. At the edge of her bed stood a woman. Tall, hair hanging wet over her face, her clothes dark and dripping as if she had just came back from standing in the rain. Madison told me she could see the water pooling on her carpet even though her windows were closed. She told me the woman didn't move, she didn't speak, she just stared with her head tilted slightly. And the longer Madison stood back, the colder the room got. She told me her body felt like it was wrapped in ice. She tried to even scream for her parents, but her voice just wouldn't come out. She told me the only thing she could do was squeeze her eyes shut, heart pounding, and when she opened them again, the woman was gone, but the carpet at the edge of her bed was still wet. Now when she told her parents, they once again brushed it off. They told her that she had a nightmare and that they're gonna check the ceiling for leaks. They also even blamed her and said that she probably spilled water in her sleep. Now Madison said that she has cameras in her room. Real cameras pointed at her closet, the doorway, and her bed. She told me she is determined to catch whatever is happening. She tried to even show her parents, but nothing was showing up on the video. Yet, she told me the activity is still ongoing. She still hears the footsteps, she still sees that her closet door is open, and sometimes she still wakes up feeling the presence of someone still being in her room. Madison told me she will update when she finally gets something on that camera, and she is sure that she will catch something. But Madison told me that she just hopes that whatever is haunting her doesn't realize that it's being being watched by the cameras before she can prove that she's not crazy. So one of my followers named Madison just told me her...
Okay. I lived in a haunted house.
Okay, I lived in a haunted house for about 8 months, and I finally have a minute to tell the story. I'm just going to try to name a few things that happened as much as I can remember now. I'm sure I'll have to make a part 2 because after I post the video, I'll remember like 3 other things. But let's start. Before I begin, people are going to ask me what's on my lips because I always get questions when they're super shiny like this, but I need a lip oil, especially around now. My lips get super crusty. This is the one I'm using right now. It's good. I'll link it here if you want it. But anyway, let's move on. So a little backstory about this house I lived in. The reason why me and my family lived there for only 8 months was because my dad was redoing a home and we needed a place to stay because it was completely gutted. So my uncle actually owned this home, so we rented it from him for about 8 months. I want to say I was about 9 or 10 years old. I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me, and then I also have a sister who's 8 years younger than me, so she was like between 1 and 2. And that part matters because something happened to my sister in this house that is still with her to this day. Now, let me just remind you, the things that I'm about to tell you, they aren't necessarily like, ooh, we saw a ghost. But just keep in mind, all of these things happen in a very short period of time, and okay, you can use your own judgment. But anyway, let's move on. So one of the first things I vividly remember was my family had owned a business with my uncle, and my aunt would have to travel with my uncle about an hour away to go tend to this business as they were opening it up. So we often would have them spend the night, and they had a dog, so they brought their dog, and it was a German Shepherd. And if anybody knows anything about German Shepherds, I mean, that's why they use them as canine dogs. They're really smart. They're really tuned into what's going on. And on repeat, every single time this dog would come over, this dog would sit at the front door and repeatedly bark, bark, bark. At nighttime, we would open the door. Nobody was there. I mean, we got so scared after a while that we didn't even want to be at the house by ourselves without like our dad and our uncle there. So that was one thing I vividly remember. Number 2, apparently while I lived in this home, I used to sleepwalk. Now I don't anymore. My mom told me that she would often hear me up at night walking around the house. She would go where I was, put me back in bed. But this one particular night, my parents must have been in the basement watching a movie, and they heard it was a bi-level. So like the front door was on the first level, and then you'd go down to the basement. They heard the front door open, and I would say it was about midnight, and my dad got scared. He's like, why is the door opening? So the way that my mom describes it to me, and my mom, side note, is a very level-headed person. Up until this point, we didn't feed into ghosts or haunted houses. So this scared my mom because she told me what she saw was they ran up the stairs, and all she saw was me walking out the door, down the stairs to the driveway. I was wearing a nightgown. And how she describes it was, she's like, Christina, you look like your feet weren't touching the ground. Like you were floating in this nightgown. And it scared me, like to my core. And I knew that you were right there, and I knew nothing was like holding you, but it looked like you were literally floating down the driveway. She's like, your dad grabbed you. You didn't know what was going on. He didn't want to wake you, like scare you, but like he grabbed you, got you back in the house. And I don't remember any of that. It's like I can vividly think of it in my head, but I think that's only because my mom told me the story. But anyway, put me back to sleep. Apparently, this happened numerous times where I was up in the middle of the night sleepwalking. Now, I don't sleepwalk, and I haven't slept walk since then. Okay, another thing that happened, if anybody knows what a waterbed looks like or has ever been on one, it's basically a bag inside of a frame, and it's filled with water. So my uncle, who doesn't live anymore, that was renting us the house, actually moved to Arizona, and he left his waterbed there. We never used the waterbed. We had our own bedroom, so there was no reason for us to ever be on it. And one day my mom came home from work, and she noticed there was water all over the ground in the basement. And so she immediately thought, we must call a plumber. Maybe something's leaking. So plumber comes in, and he's like, no, nothing's leaking, but the waterbed exploded. My mom's like, exploded? And he was like, yeah, it's not a small leak. Like, this thing has a rip in it. No one touched the waterbed. Nobody was home. How could a waterbed explode? Especially one that's been sitting there for years. It's strange. Okay, on to the next. So one day I woke up in the morning to my mom bawling her eyes out, looking out the window onto the street. And I was like, why are you crying? What's wrong? And she's like, well, I woke up in the morning and my car is completely totaled on the street. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I called the police already and they looked at the car. The car was like an accordion. It was smashed from the front and the back. Not 1 ounce of evidence from any other car hitting it. No other paint from another car. The only parts on the ground were from my mom's car. No witnesses. Nobody heard a drunk driver driving past and hitting the front of her car and then backing up and hitting the back of her car. Nothing was heard. She just woke up to an accordion car sitting on the street. I'm sure there's a lot more things. I'll probably think of them and make a part 2, but one really vivid thing I remember is when we moved in there were always cats roaming the neighborhood. Not just 1 or 2. There were cats all over the place. It was like Halloween every single day of the year. If this story didn't bore you and you want to hear more, leave me a comment.
Okay, I moved into a haunted house.
Somehow, and I don't even know how, I did eventually fall asleep. Brock and I are a little bit on edge because we were like, okay, when we walked through here at night, we felt weird. Now these things are happening at night. Is there something to this? At that point in time, we couldn't really tell. Some time passes, we keep hearing weird things, trying to explain it away logically because we had no other way to do it. My birthday is December 19th. One of my best friend's husbands has the exact same birthday as me. He's also December 19th. And so since we all kind of started hanging out, we would do our birthdays together because it just kind of made sense. And it's also kind of funny because he's the oldest of the group and I'm the youngest of the group. So he was having a milestone birthday. He was turning 40. So we wanted to do like a really big thing for him. I'm still in my late 20s, so it was like not like a super notable birthday, so we really went all out for him. We just wanted it to be really, really special. I have so much footage of this party. Telling this story is going to be so much more fun because I have so much more footage that I can show from these things. We planned this huge surprise party. We were going to do it at our house because we felt like it would be easier to hide, okay? So they actually all lived in the same neighborhood. Eventually, we actually moved out to that neighborhood too. So they were all really, really close in proximity, so like hiding a surprise party at somebody's house would have been very, very hard. Or like, okay, it'd be so fun to do like a 90s themed party. So we planned this thing. I'm talking, we had it catered, we decorated the entire house. Like I created a whole photo booth for our whole group to take photos of. It was like around Christmas time, so it was like kind of holiday-ish, kind of not. Parties are my thing, okay? If there's one thing you need to know about me, it's parties are my thing, especially themed parties. I'm going balls to the walls on a themed party. So the chandelier in my entryway, I had little CDs hanging down on fish line and they were all like glowing. I had all kinds of lighting and backdrops. I mentioned this before, but Brock is a DJ. So in our living room, we set up this entire DJ station. He made this mix for the party. He DJ'd the whole party. We had like beer pong on our table, laser lights and props. Anyway, at this point, some things had happened in the house. And so I've been like telling my friends like, hey, you know, this house is kind of weird. Like some weird things have happened. And a lot of them had said that first time we ever came to your house, it felt weird. And it wasn't you, it was the house. It was a very obvious thing, even to people who were very skeptical, who didn't necessarily believe in like spirits, ghosts, any of that. Like it was very obvious, the energy in that house. I will say the night of the party was one of the first times that I didn't actually feel weird. And I think it was just because I had so many people in my house and we had the music and it was just like a lot of fun. So I didn't actually feel weird, but some of my friends did feel weird. And we had my office set up as a guest room. I had a futon in there. This was a 40th birthday. Again, they lived like 25 minutes away or whatever. We were all heavily drinking, so everyone stayed at the house. We had all the rooms set up with, you know, guest beds and sheets and pillows. As many people as we had over, we didn't have enough rooms for everybody. The couch downstairs was enormous and it fit like 4 people on it to sleep. There was one point in the night where we were just like all talking, and then one girl was like totally like on another planet. She was just like, hey, this house feels pretty weird, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah, girl, it really does. And I hadn't even gotten like so into it with them yet because we still are pretty new friends at that point. And so I'm like, I don't want to like totally freak them out and have them not want to hang out with me and think I'm having ghosts and shit follow me. She was like, yeah, it feels pretty weird. And so they were all fighting over which room everyone was going to stay in. And this one particular girl ended up having to sleep on the couch, and she said that she was terrified all night. I remember her also saying she felt like somebody was watching her the entire night.
Okay. Kit Kat break time. There we go. Kit Kat Ghost Toast. Cinnamon toast flavored. Alright, let's see. Is this the best Halloween Kit Kat? Write me a comment. I want to know your favorite Halloween candy. And I want to know your favorite Halloween Kit Kat flavor. So do you think that this is the best? Okay, interesting color. Okay, light orange. That's neat. Okay. Moment of truth here. Wow! That is very good. That is very, very good. It almost has a pumpkin spice like hint to it. With the cinnamon in there? Wow! Well, I will give it a 9 out of 10. Nice. Okay, and one more topic, and that might be it for today. And if you guys like this kind of video, then I can maybe do a TikTok reaction compilation like once a month. So let me know. Do you want to see more of these? So, okay. How about haunted? The classic, the haunted hospital. You gotta do it. Haunted hospital. Okay. Creepy nurse stories.
Out of my room, there must be some demented guy wandering around. He won't leave. He's sitting in my chair. I go in, nobody there. He's like, oh, he must have left. Third night, happens again. Ladies, the Jimmy's in my room again. Can you come and get him out? I walk in, nobody there. So we all stand in the hallway and we're all talking. We said, hey, let's just talk to Jimmy. Jimmy, we really miss you. Thank you for coming back and visiting us, but it's time for you to move on. Don't bother this guy because he's going to move out and never come back. You're creeping him out. But we love you so much. Thank you for being there. And I swear it was like a coldness. Look at this. Like something in the hallway felt like he was acknowledging us, like the temperature of the air changed. And it just felt like, all right, Jimmy crossed over, and we love him so much and we miss him. So that's my creepy but kind of beautiful story. I'd love to hear yours in the comments or DM me.
Oh boy. Hospital story.
Okay, I have a ghost story to tell you. I'm in a new hospital and I was walking around and it's empty and it's kind of creepy, and I heard some noises and I started thinking about all the different like ghost stories that I have from years of working in ICU. But the creepiest story that I have, sorry about that noise, it's loud but I can't turn it off. The creepiest story that I have. So I worked in a hospital that the unit that I worked on had never been anything but a cardiovascular ICU, or cardiothoracic. It was hearts and lungs, and heart transplants, total artificial heart, lung transplants, anything cardiac related. So on this floor, there was a patient that we had one time. There was a particular room that kind of gave you the heebie-jeebies when you walk past it. And we had a patient in that room that he was not a nice human. He was somebody that I had actually known like outside of the hospital, so I never took care of him because it was a conflict of interest. But one night he was confused, so he was just saying kind of mean, hateful things. But one of the things that he kept saying is he kept using a racial slur, the N-word, and he kept saying, "Get that little racial slur out of here. He's playing in here. Get him out of here. I don't want that little racial slur in my room." And everybody, like, this man, I didn't like him outside of, the hospital, and as a patient, I was confused, and it was not good. But anyway, he ended up leaving that room, got better, left. And then when you're in the hospital, you can get confused, and it's very normal for you to hallucinate. You have medications on board, like, that's just kind of a normal thing. It just kind of, sometimes your true colors show up whenever you are on medications. I've had women punch me that, their family members say, like, "Oh, they're so sweet and kind," but then they get on, medications, and then they are, hitting and kicking. And anyway, anesthesia can do that to you, as well as medications, and, even your sodium gets off. There's all sorts of things that can influence you. So we didn't think much of it. I think it was like 2 days later, not just a couple days later, we had the sweetest little old lady in that room, and I did take care of her. She was adorable. I swear I can't remember, she was in her late 80s, but she was so sweet and so cute, poor lady. But she was not confused, and she kept telling me, she was like, "Can you get my purse for me? Give me my purse. I really need my purse. It's over there." And I was like, what do you need your purse for? And a lot of times we don't give patients their belongings, because there might be extra pills in there, and we got to know what they're taking. So I said, "Well, let me help you go through your purse, and what is it that you want out of there?" She says, "I have some candy in there. I really want to get some candy for that little boy. He keeps coming in here and playing, and I have some candy that I'd like to give him." And I said, "What? There's no little boy?" And she says, "Yes, there's a little black boy. He keeps playing over there in the drawers, and he's looking for some food, but I have some candy, and I'd like to give it to him." This unit had never been a pediatric unit. There was never children. There wasn't any children on the unit, and nobody was visiting, especially no children. It's pretty creepy.
What paranormal experience turning from a skeptic to a believer?
In my experience, I truly believe that every nurse has a story like this, especially if you have worked night shift. But we had a particular full moon shift, but of course, and we had a patient that was saying, "Can you please get the little girl out of my room? You need to control the floor, tell their parents to control their child." And we were like, "Okay." And then we had another patient down the hall, look at Kusa, saying the same thing, I think there was a little girl in here. These patients had no altered mental status. There was no reason for them to be seeing this, but multiple patients said that they saw a little girl in that room. And then we also had a patient who passed away on hospice on the floor that day. So I don't know if that's related, but I believe.
Scary. Scary ghost kids. Okay.
This is a terrifying but true hospital ghost story. A woman in her 20s was admitted to hospital with serious heart problems. But she wasn't just enough sedation to still keep her awake. She could nod and shake her head yes and no to questions. One night, the patient in the room next to her died, but the body was still in the room, about to be taken to the morgue. The female patient's door was closed. The curtains were drawn. When the nurse went to check in on her, she had a look of sheer panic on her face. She was trembling. The nurse asked a series of questions to see if she was in pain, hot or cold. She denied everything. The nurse then asked if she saw something. The patient started to nod her head yes aggressively. The patient was not on any medication to make her hallucinate. After asking dozens of yes-no questions, this is the answer the nurse got. An obese, bald, pale white man was standing behind the nurse. The same man that had died next door. This is a terrifying but true hospital ghost story.
Oh boy. Oh my god, this is scary.
Let me tell you about this haunted hospital I worked at where I had to push this body down to the morgue and these spirits was jumping all on top of the body bag and pushing the body cart all up and down the hallway. So this is my first hospital job. I'm super new. I had never done anything in a hospital before. I was only doing like nursing homes and home health care, right? So I turn around and I'm training with this woman. You can tell she hated her life. She being rude. She didn't want to train me. She had me doing everything by myself, even though she was supposed to be training me. And so then, unfortunately, this patient passes away. And she tells me, like, you know, you got to toe tag them. You got to do X, Y, and Z. So she's telling me what to do, but she's like not really wanting to help me. She'll just keep leaving out the room. So I'm doing everything by myself. And I finally toe tag her, and it's time for us to like go ahead and put her in the bag. So she comes in, she helps me put her in the bag, and then she looked at me and she's like, you got to take her down to the morgue by yourself. I said, aren't you supposed to come with me? Like, I don't even know where the morgue is. She was like, no, I had to do it myself the first time. Okay. So I went ahead and I was like, cool, I'll just go by myself then. So fast forward, I pulled the body onto the elevator and I'm already freaked out. I'm in the elevator with a dead body, and the first thing that's on my mind is, what if this elevator stops and I get trapped in this elevator with a dead body? Anyway, so fast forward, I'm in the basement and I'm pretty much waiting for security. She told me that security was going to meet me there. Now, mind you, I don't know where I'm going. So I'm going up and down the hall, pushing this body up and down the hall, trying to find this morgue. And so it's a fairly large hospital, right? And when you don't know where you're going, you be confused. So I finally like saw this area and I'm just like, okay, that looked like it would be something like a morgue. I don't know. So I walked up to the door and in small printing, it said morgue, right? So I'm like, okay, this is it. I pushed the body up against the wall. And when I pushed the body up against the wall, I'm just standing there. I'm waiting for security. I hear the elevator ding and I heard the doors open. And I was like, okay, finally, they're here. Nobody got off the elevator. So then I heard walking from the opposite direction. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just waiting. Nobody ever comes. I'm down there waiting. Like I had pushed the body up against the wall and everything, waiting for about 15, 20 minutes. So finally I was like, okay, let me call up there. So I called the unit. And when I called the unit, the girl who was training me answered the phone and she's like, oh, sometimes it just takes them a while. It's okay. You can go ahead and just wait there. And so I'm just like, okay. So then I wait down there longer. And the longer I wait, I just feel anxious. And I'm like, I do not like being down here. Like, I'm literally in the basement. It feels like by myself. I don't see any other workers. This shit is weird. So I hear talking. And I'm like, okay, let me walk to where they are, like whoever was talking. So I can tell them, like, hey, do you mind getting security for me so they can hurry up and get down here? Because I don't want to leave the body. Right? So I get to that area where I heard the talking and there's nobody there. So immediately I know what that is. And I immediately don't want to be down there. I already didn't want to come. So I get annoyed because I've been waiting for a long time now. And so finally, I'm like, I'm just going to search spree to try to find somebody myself. So I finally like walk down this other hallway. And as I'm walking down the other hallway, I hear commotion coming from where I left the body. And so I turned around. I'm like, maybe the security people came from the opposite direction. Maybe that's them. So when I go back around the corner, I notice that from afar, I can see there's something on the floor. And as I'm walking closer, I can see that it's the belongings bag that belongs to the deceased. I had it on top of the body bag. And so I'm like, okay, it could have just fallen. I don't know. And so as I'm getting closer, I see that there's somebody behind the cart, like holding onto the handles behind the cart. And I was like, getting scared. So finally, I was just like, okay. So as I get closer, the person that was squatting behind the cart stood up. And it's a spirit pushing the body cart towards me. And then it's a couple more spirits sitting on top of the body bag. Oh. Y'all, I never ran to an elevator so fast. I ran to the elevator. And I called the unit again, and I told the girl, I said, hey, I'm gonna need you to come down to the thing with me. The security didn't even show. She said, just come on back up here. So I went back upstairs, and when I got back up there, she had an attitude. We called security again. Security gets down there, but this time they tell me that I had the body pushed all the way over by janitorial. Y'all know I did not. No, I did not. I did not have that body pushed down there by janitorial. So security's like, yeah, I just don't send no more new people down here if they just gonna be leaving bodies just anywhere. Anybody could walk down here. Well, maybe y'all should have been where y'all said y'all was gonna be.
Ooh, wow. Story time from when I worked at a haunted hospital.
Okay, so story time for whenever I was a CNA and I worked on a postpartum floor, haunted hospital edition. Okay, so picture it, right? I work night shift, I get into work, the place is slammed, okay? I'm the only CNA. Positive though, I'm working with my bestie, so I'm happy about that, okay? It's gonna be a good night regardless, right? Anyway, so like it's slammed, it's busy. Everybody in the whole town has decided to have a baby, okay? We are slammed full with mother baby. Oh my goodness, so many moms and baby. So as the night's going on and we are like, we are booking it. Like I am running down to the lab. I am getting bottles. I am helping with breastfeeding. I am doing this, and this. All of a sudden we hear OB emergency, OB emergency. And of course, you start running. So we run to the OB emergency, we get everything straight, get that patient down to labor and deliver, everything's good. Okay, so again, I'm booking it. I'm doing vitals. I'm doing everything I gotta do. Again, I hear OB emergency, OB emergency. I'm thinking, what is... Okay, so yeah, again, another OB emergency, okay? And if you know what I'm talking about, that just sends a chill down your spine when you hear OB emergency, OB emergency. Yeah. So get that dealt with, okay? Then finally we get into this little lull, right? And everybody's like charting. Everybody's trying to take a little break, get some water. We're trying to fuel up because we know it's coming back. We know there's another wave of it. So again, we're sitting there, typing whatever. Again, I hear OB emergency, OB emergency. I look at my friend who's sitting next to me and I said, this cannot be happening tonight, okay? Now, here's the scary part. As that last OB emergency is being called, okay? We both hear a loud, blood-curdling scream. We look at each other like, what is going on? So we hear the calm lady on the overcom saying, OB emergency, OB emergency. We hear the scream, okay? And everybody's like panicking, getting up, moving around. Very stimulating, okay? So we're like, okay. Get to of course, OB emergency comes first. Get that done. And then we're trying to figure out where that scream came from, where the scream came from. We go down the hall that we heard it from, which is the same haunted pediatric hall, okay? And the only patients down there that night were mother baby. We didn't have any kind of a med surg overflow. We didn't have any pediatric patients. And it was a male scream we heard. We couldn't figure out the source of it. So we said, okay, whatever, it's cool. Like, let's just try to eat a granola bar before this happens again. So another lull comes in the shift. We're sitting there, we're charting, we're taking a little break. We hear another scream. A male scream. And you can hear different. I'm telling you, it was a male scream. So we go down the hall. We cannot find it. Who's screaming? Who's screaming? What kind of man is screaming? So yeah, this is just another night on the haunted postpartum floor. And you know what I think it is? This is what it was. Look, this male ghost, he just could not take that the attention was not on him because we had all these OB emergencies and we were busy running around doing all kinds of stuff, and he just couldn't take that. We weren't focusing on him. But anyway.
Okay, one more TikTok, folks. Haunted nursing stories, part 6.
Story time of my coworker seeing a ghost. So this is in conjunction with my Airbnb ghost story, and you guys said you wanted to hear about my coworker. So what I do for work is ultrasound. She was at work one day, she worked in the city, and she said that the hospital that they worked at had like 2 big towers for their patient rooms, and it was a Saturday and she was working by herself. But when you work in ultrasound, you get an inpatient, something will print off the printer and tell you what test you need to do and where to go. The printer went off and it said it was like the 12th floor of this tower. And she thought it was really weird, like they never get patients up there. She went to the tower and went to that room. There was no patient in that room. Then she went to the nurse's station to ask, and basically the whole floor was like empty. There was nobody up there. When she got to the nurse's station, she was like looking around for somebody, and she seen a woman in a patient gown with like her hair and her face kind of covering her face. and she was crying. She stood there for a second. She said she was really freaked out, thought it was a patient, didn't know exactly what was going on. So she just kind of backed out and left because she was really scared and freaked out by it. But then later she said she never told anybody because she was scared she was going to get in trouble. I was a patient that was up on the floor they shouldn't have been on, really scared that was going to come back on her. So then a year goes by. She is in the ER scanning a patient, and it turned out to be a housekeeper for the hospital. And they're talking about the hospital and how haunted it is. And he said his wife was also a housekeeper. He said, yeah, it's really haunted, especially the 12th floor. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, it's all because of the crying lady. It's like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, there's a lady up there. If you go up there, you just hear her crying all the time. He said that his wife and him go and they'll clean that floor together because they're too scared to go up by themselves to clean the room. So yeah, that's her story. Really creepy. So that one gave me chills. Story time.
Alright, I lied one more. Sorry. Okay. One more! And then that is all for today. Alright, bone-chilling, creepy hospital story. The last one.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true.
So I work in healthcare, and I've always worked in healthcare. And when I was 18, I worked in a nursing home. And it was my first job right out of high school. And I loved it. It was fun. And, I enjoy healthcare. Anyway, I was working night shift. And I think anybody that works in healthcare and that works night shift, if you know, you know. This was my first time working a night shift. I usually worked the PM shift or from 3 to 11. I can't remember what it is anymore, but 3 to 11. But the people that were supposed to come in on nights didn't come. So then I had to stay. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to finish up some of the duties. I was helping one of the residents with something, and I was taking some garbage from their room into the utility room. And as I'm walking into the utility room, I see out of the corner of my eye what I thought was the nurse walking into another resident's room across the hallway. And so I walk in the utility room, I drop my stuff off. It takes me 30 seconds to do. It's not that hard. So when I come out, I look up and I can see the call lights off. So the call light, if you don't know healthcare, they're outside the rooms and they let you know that somebody needs something. So I thought the call light was on when I went in the utility room. That's why I thought the nurse was going in there, and it was off when I came out. So then when I go down the hallway, I can see the nurse standing at the end of the hallway by the nurse's cart. So I go down and I ask her, what did this resident need? And the nurse kind of looks at me puzzled and says, I don't know. You're the one that answered the light. And I said, nope, I didn't. Kind of figured you answered it when you walked in there. And she goes, what are you talking about? I haven't even been down there this whole night. I'm still passing her meds or doing whatever she was doing up there. She goes, I haven't been down there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I literally watched you walk in there. She goes, I have not been down there. I've been at this cart since the shift started. And she could see the weird, puzzled look on my face, I guess. So then she was she got this shit grin on her face. And she goes, you saw her, didn't you? Oh. And I go, care to fill me in? Who was it? She goes, we have a ghost. We have a ghost in the nursing home. We think it was a nurse. And she used to answer call lights, or she is answering call lights. That's why we think she was a nurse. And people see her all the time on the night shift. And I always tell people this story always freaks me out. I know I do paranormal stuff all the time, and I'm usually a skeptical person when it comes to that because I think a lot of stuff can be explained. But I always tell people I think the reason that story sticks out so much is, number one, it happened to me, so I know what I saw. And number two is that I know what I saw. I knew I saw a person walk in that room. There was no doubt in my mind. I didn't think I saw something. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a blurry thing. I know I watched somebody walk into that room. It has always stuck with me and has always freaked me out. That's my ghost story.
Wow. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope you guys had fun. And I am thinking about doing a video like this maybe once a month. Send me your favorite creepy TikToks. Thank you. And the ghost toast TikToks are a hit. And thank you, everybody, and happy Halloween. See you next time.